Let's see the structure of complex to simple. Complex to simple. Complex to simple. We know complex sentence if the sentence begins with when or as or since and there is a part and there is another part. This is a complex structure, complex sentence, and here is a subject, here is a subject, here is a verb and object, and there is also a subject, verb and object. This is the structure of complex sentence if there is when, as, since, and if this two part refers to time. It also denotes time and it also denotes time. Denotes or refers to time. If the verb action refers to time and if this verb action refers to time, then the simple structure will be we must cut off this and we must begin from the verb and with an ing, with ing. This is so I repeat, if the complex sentence there is in a complex sentence there is when, as, since, and there is two part there. After when, as, since there is a part and after comma there is a part. So we must begin, if we want to transform it into simple, then we must begin with the verb and verb with an ing, then object. After when, as, the part after when, as, since there is a verb and we must begin from this verb, and then this is a part and comma will be here, comma, and the subject here will be there, will be the after comma. So, and this subject and this subject will be the same. So, and then verb, then object. This is a structure of complex to simple. I repeat, if the sentence begins with when, as, since, and there is a part, subject, verb, object, and after comma there is also a part, and there the part has subject, object, verb and object. So for transforming into simple, we must begin the verb after when, as, since. From this verb we must begin and verb takes ing. So verb plus ing and then object here, and after after writing the first part, then we must put here comma, and the subject of the first part, the part of the when, as, since, the part subject will be there, and then verb and object. Verb and object will the other part of the verb and object will be here. So let's see example. When Shumi closed the door, she went to sleep. So here, when then here is a part, Sumi close the door, and there is another part, and there is comma in the middle. So we must remove this, and we must begin the verb with close. So close must take ing, closing, and it is in the past form, so it will be present form, and then present form takes ing. So closing, then the other word, door, and here she and there Sumi. So Sumi will be here. So Sumi, then went to sleep. I repeat, when Sumi closed the door, she went to sleep. Closing the door, Sumi went to sleep. I am showing another example here. When I went to market, I bought some books. So here begins with when. There is when and as conjunction, and there is a part, I went to market, and there is after comma there is another part. So we must remove this, and we must begin the sentence with simple sentence with point. So went, present form, the present form of went is go, so go takes ing. Going, we know the verb present form takes ing. So going to market, I bought some books. This is the example of complex to simple. One example. This is the structure, complex to simple. Let's see another rules or another structure. If this sentence begins with as or since, or because. If there is conjunction as, since, because in a complex sentence, if there is as, since, because in a complex sentence as conjunction, and there is another part, there is a part and comma, so here is subject, and there is verb, and here is object here, and the other part also subject, verb, object, and full stop. So this is the structure of complex sentence. And if the after as, since, because the part expresses pause, denotes cause, refers to pause, and the other part refers to effect. So in that case we must use, instead of as, since, because, we must use because of. Instead of as, since, because of, and then this subject will be in the possessive form. If there is he, then it will be his. If there is I, there it will be my. So, and then after possessive form there is if. Here is be verb, if there is be verb, so it will be being. If the verb have verb or have has, so have has or had, it will be having. Then it will be having. If there is main verb, if there is principal verb, then it will take ing form. So if the verb, be verb or am, is or was were, these are be verb, and if the verb have, has, had, or if the verb principal verb, then if the verb be verb am, is or was were, if we find here am, is or was were, then we must use being. If we find have, has, had, then we must use having. If we find principal verb or action verb, then we must use ing after the verb, and then the object or adjective here. Here adjective will be adjective or object, and then the subject comes here. So, and then verb, then object or others. So this is the structure of complex to simple. If complex sentence begins with this as, since, because, and as instead of as, since, because, we must use because of, and after because of, the subject of the second part will be the possessive form here, and then the verb in the first part. If the verb in the first part is am, is or was or be verb, we say this be verb. So if we find here am, is or was, then it will be being, into it will be being. But if we find have, has, had, then it will be having. And if we find here action verb, then it will be verb, the ing, verb plus ing. So, and the other part of also, and the object or adjective of the sentence first part here, then we must put here comma, and then we must use the subject of the first part here after comma, then the verb of the second part here we must use, and the object of the second part here. So this is the complex to compound structure. Let's see example. As Suman was ill, he could not go to school. There is S conjunction, and there is Suman was ill part, and there is other part here. So it is a complex sentence, and this part expresses or denotes cause, and if, and this refers to cause, so the other part refers to affect, or it denotes affect. It expresses affect. So in that case we must use instead of as because of. Because of. And we know the subject will be possessive. The part of the second part will be the subject of the possessive. So subject here he will be possessive, his. He will be possessive here, his. And then verb, the verb of the first part after as since. So verb, if we find verb am is or be verb, so here we find here be verb, so it will be being. And then ill, object or others. And then we must, after comma, we must use the subject of the first part. So Sumon. So Sumon. And then the part of the second part. The second part of the rest of the word of the second part. So could not go to school. As Sumon was ill, he could not go to college. Because of his being ill, Sumon could not go to college. Let's see another rules, another structure of complex to simple. If the sentence begins with if or if, and there is a part and there is another part. If the conjunction, if the sentence begins with if, there is conjunction if, and there is a subject, then verb, then object, and there in the second part there is also a subject, a verb, and object. So it is a complex sentence, and if we want to transform it simple, so we must remove this, and as it is, if the subject is in the second person, so we must instead of if plus subject we must write here by. We must begin with by, then the main verb will take ing. The main verb will take ing, and then object, then the other part of the sentence, subject, verb, object. Full stop. I repeat, if the sentence begins with if, and there is a part and there is another part, and if there is subject and the subject is in second person, then we must begin the simple sentence with by. So by, then the verb takes ing, and then object, and then other part will be here. So let's see an example. If you work hard, you will prosper in life. If you work hard, you will prosper in life. So we must use by instead of if you. So by and work takes ing, will take ing. So by working hard, comma, you will prosper in life. This is the by, if you work hard you will prosper in life. By working hard you will prosper in life. And the other rule is, if the sentence, there is if and after if the sentence is in the negative form, so there is do not or does not, and then verb, then object, and after comma there is another part there. So and here is subject, verb, object. So in that position, or in if the sentence is in this position, then after removing the if, subject and do not, does not, we must begin the sentence with without. We must begin the sentence without. Then verb takes ing, then main verb takes ing, and verb will be in the present form, then takes ing. Verb, then object will be here, and then the other part will be here. Subject, verb, object. And we must know if there is noun, so noun will be there. Noun will be there. So now let's see example. If you do not work hard, you will not prosper in life. So this is the structure of complex sentence, and here that's after if the sentence is in the negative form. So after removing the instead of do not, if plus subject plus do not, we must begin the sentence without. If you do not, we must begin the sentence without, and then work takes ing, work, verb takes ing, will take ing. So without working hard, then comma, and the other part will be here. This is the structure of complex to simple. Let's see another structure of complex to simple. If there is so plus adjective plus that, and there is subject, cannot, could not, then verb, then others, and so the structure is subject plus verb. This is the structure of complex sentence. If the complex sentence, if in this structure so and that, as there is so and that, if there is so and that, and so after so and that there is adjective here, between so and that there is adjective. So in that position we must write, we must use instead of so to, and here instead of to that to and to, two and two. These are long pronunciation and the short. So subject, then verb, then to plus then adjective plus to, and after to there will be only verb. There will be verb in the present form, then object. But we must remember, if the subject will be the same, then this is, if the subject is a person, then the structure will be that position. Let's see example. The boy is so weak that he cannot run. So here we found so, and here that. So instead of so we must put here to the and the boy person. So if the subject is person, then the structure will be that position. So the boy is too weak, and instead of that, and not only that, that plus subject plus cannot put not, instead of that plus subject plus cannot put not, we must put here to. So that plus subject, he plus cannot, so we must put here to, and the verb will here. So the boy is so weak that he cannot walk, he cannot run. The boy is too weak to run. Full stop. I repeat, the boy is so weak that he cannot run. The boy is too weak to run. We can see another example here. The girl is so dull that she cannot do the sum. And so here is so, and there is that plus cannot put subject plus cannot. So here we must use, instead of so we must use to, and that she cannot, we must use to. So the girl, as the girl is a person, so the girl is too dull to do the sum. This is a simple sentence. If there is the same structure but the person is different, in that case we must follow this subject, verb, so adjective, that plus subject plus cannot or put not plus verb plus object. And if the subject is not the person, it will be an object or thing, it will be a thing. Then we must begin with the subject, then the verb, then instead of so we must to use to, then adjective here, but here it will be something different. After adjective we must use for, and here is the person, here is the person, so this person will be object plus object here, and then to this, instead of this we must use to, then verb and object, verb and object. Example, the box is so heavy that he cannot carry it. So, and here the box thing, and the after that the subject is a person. So in that case we must use this structure. The box is too heavy, and after heavy adjective then we must use for, and he will be object him. The box is too heavy for him, and then to, and then verb. After to there will be verb carry. Carry it, or it here. The box is too heavy for him to carry, so it will be avoided. If the complex sentence begins with, though or although, and then a part here, and there is another part, and if we transform this complex sentence into simple, then we must follow some techniques, and there is subject verb object in the first part, and there is also subject verb object in the other part. So here is conjunction though although. So if there is conjunction though although, then we must use in spite of instead of though although. In spite of, we must begin the sentence with in spite of, or if the though although is in the middle, then we must use here in spite of. So in spite of, instead of though although, we must use in spite of, and then subject will be possessive, the part of the second possessive, and if the verb be verb, if the verb is be verb, in the first part the verb is be verb, then we must use being. If the verb is to have verb, then then we must use having. But if the verb is action verb, then we must put verb plus ing. So, and then adjective or object, then comma, and subject. This subject will be here, and then verb object. This is the structure of simple sentence. If the sentence begins, if there is conjunction though, although, so if there is though, although as conjunction in a complex sentence, then we must write in spite of instead of though, although. So now and the after in spite of there will be possessive. The subject of the other part will be the possessive here. Then the verb of the after though, although, the verb of this part after though, although, the verb, if it is be verb, then it will be being. If it is have verb, then it will be having. If the verb action verb, then it will be verb plus ing. So, and then object, and the part after though, although, the subject of this part after though, although will be the subject here, and then verb and object. So now let's see example. Although Rumi is poor, she is honest. So this is a part and this is another part. So here though, although, so in spite of though, although, we must use in spite of. Though, although, we must use in spite of, instead of, although, in spite of, and she will be possessive here. So the subject of the second part, other part will be the subject here. So she will be possessive verb, and then we find if the after though, although, the part has be verb, so be verb will be being. So here being, in spite of verb being, poor, adjective or object, and then Sumi will be after the comma. So Rumi will be after the comma. Rumi and is honest. Then other part. Here she here and Rumi is there. This is an example. I repeat, if there is though that's conjunction, and if we want to make it simple, then we must use in spite of, and then the subject of the other part will be the possessive form here, possessive form. Then after though, although, the part after though, although has verb, and if the verb is in the amizer, then it will be being. If the verb have, then it have to have verb, have has had, that will be having. And if the verb principal verb or action verb, that will be a verb plus ing. and so, and then object, and then the subject of the part after do also. This subject will be the subject after comma will be here, and then verb and object. So although Rumi is poor, she is honest. In spite of her being poor, Rumi is honest. In spite of, though, although, or in lieu of, though, instead of, though, although we wrote here, we used here in spite of. Then she has been into her, possessive, and then am is are, we found am is are, so it has been changed into being, and then poor, and then Rumi has been put here, and then is honest. So in spite of her being poor, Rumi is honest. If in the complex sentence, if there is when plus it, is or was, and time here, then subject, verb, object. If there is when it was, when plus it plus was, then time, and there is other part also there. So if there is when it is or when it was, and to make it simple, we must use, instead of when it is or when it was, during or in, or in or at. Any of this we must write, we must use instead of when it is or it was. We must write during or in or at. So, and we must remember, if the time is long, if the time is long, then we write this or this, during or in. But if the time is short, then we must use at. So after during, in or at, there will be time here, and after then the rest of the part of the sentence, the other part, subject, verb, object, this part. So I repeat, if there is when it is or when it was in a complex sentence, and then after when it is or when it was, there is a time, adverb, there is some adverb of time, and then after comma there is other part. In that case, we must use during or in if the time is long, and if the time is short, after it is or it was, if the time is short, then we use at. So now see example. When it was winter, I visited Dhaka. In that case, when it was, we found here it was, and the structure is if there is when it is or it was, and instead of it is or it was we must write during, in or at. And when we use during or when we use in or at, if the time is long, then we use during or in. We can use during or in, any one of this. But if the time is short, then we must use at. So here is winter, is a long time. Here is winter, the adverb is a long time. So in that case we must use here during, or we can use in. So during winter, I visited Dhaka. Or in winter, I visited Dhaka. If there is comma, or comma may not be here. So we can see another example. When it was daylight, I returned home. Returned home. And we find here when it was, and there is adverb daylight. So daylight is a short time. So and in that case we must write at daylight. We must use at daylight. I returned home. This is the structure of complex to simple we have discussed. So